Yo, what's up, guys? Finally back to recording something. It feels like it's been a million years. I know you're probably shocked to see this in your inbox or whatever it is after what, half a year. But I'm back. I have some scripted stuff in the pipeline. Maybe coming next week. I'm gonna try and measure myself so I can be more consistent. But today, just to sort of warm up and get back into it. I want to catch up on some of the stuff I missed while I was not doing anything. And probably the biggest one of that would be Legends ZAOU and all the new Mega reveals and all the ZA Gen 10 speculation and such on which will be the best new Mega, which will be good, which will be bad, which will be terrible, the Hoenn special or whatever on poor Scovillain. But I just want to make this quick sort of unscripted analysis. Just me reading some bullet points I prepared because there's something that I don't think enough people are talking about, and so much focus is on the new megas like Mega Delphox or whatever, or this broken stuff, right? And also the old megas like Medicham who gets close combat, or Blastoise who gets Shell Smash. Anyone can tell you that it's going to be broken. Like Mega Metagross getting Heavy Slam and Knock Off and Psychic things is probably gonna be banned. There's no real insight I can give to that's original, hasn't been talked about before. But there is one Mega, and it's really interesting case, this one, because I think it's something that hasn't directly gotten buffed, but it's something that the game of Pokemon that is played has changed around it, that I think has made it secretly way better, and I think it's going to rise up from already being pretty good in Gen 6 and 7 to being probably a secret top tier in Gen 10. I'm fully serious. If you couldn't tell from the intro and also the background footage I'm playing from one of Blunder's Legends ZA tours that I was testing this in, I'm of course talking about Mega Gyarados, or Gyarados, however you want to say it. And it's an interesting case because, like I said, it hasn't really gained anything. Like, the only new move it gets in Legends ZA is Dragon Rush, which is obviously terrible. But like I said, I'll get into what I think has changed around it to make it such an improvement in my eyes from what it used to be. But first, we can talk about what's always been good about Mega Gyarados. So we have a baseline to work off of. Again, I have some notes here, so I'll just go down them. For one, it's just incredible to be able to use Intimidate and then Mega and set up a Dragon Dance. Because you already have some natural bulk. With Intimidate, you can set up on nearly any physical attacker in the game. It's pretty insane, because Pokemon as a game, since Gen 7 going to Gen 9, it's gotten more offensive, and the ability to shut down your opponent's offense and reverse the momentum into your own offense, which is something only really possible with these megas Intimidate, like Mawile or again Gyarados. It's an insane momentum flipper. And again, the other good thing about Gyarados is the type change, of course. I can give you an example. When you start water flying, you can come in against a Pokemon like, I don't know, for example, Landorus. Now Landorus might want to click Stone Edge. Stone Edge, not too common. That's just one thing that's improved, to be honest, the lack of Stone Edge on Landorus. But it would want to click Stone Edge on you, or if you Mega, it would want to click U-turn on you. But when you can be ambiguous about what you want to do when you bring in your Gyarados on Landorus, it's going to have to guess. And probably the best play for it is to just go for the mid-ground with U-turn, so probably just don't DD, and you get a free setup turn, because the U-turn's going to do 1% from like a -1 Landorus. Another great example would be Golden Go with like Focus Blast. If you come in on Golden Go, it's going to have to choose between a resisted Shadow Ball or Make It Rain on your Mega Gyarados form, the Dark type, or it's going to have to try and Focus Blast and whiff into a flying type. And it's not always you have to choose, because for example, that Golden Go could be a choice set, which would let you just get a free setup turn on it. But that's always been an amazing thing. Another thing you talk about, obviously, Waterfall. I mean, ever since Gen 4, Waterfall Gyarados has been one of the best win conditions in the game. Not just because of the sheer power, which it obviously has, but also because Waterfall's a move with a 20% flinch chance. Like, I'm sure, like, Darkrai, example, in Gen 9 is one of the best leads in Gen 9. I think if you look at the stats from all the major tournaments like SPL and World Cup, Darkrai is always overrepresented in the lead statistics. It's a very, very, very common lead. And part of what makes it so good is against other common leads like Glamora or Cinderace, you rip a Dark Pulse, there's a 20% chance you just flinch their lead on the spot and pretty much win the game because it's so hard to come back from just having a Pokemon removed. Obviously, like, it's not great to rely on hacks as your win condition, right? It's only a 20% chance on Waterfall to flinch. But it's something that your opponent has to always consider because a lot of teams, they're my water resist. This is my physical water resist, like, or my just wall, like Corviknight or whatever. That when people are team building, they only put one of those on their team often. And if you get like a 1 in 5 chance to just flinch it and then 2-hit KO it, you pretty much win the game on the spot. It's just a 20% chance for a free win, which is, I mean, it's always been crazy. But that's all stuff that's always existed on Gyarados. So what do I think has changed that makes it so much better in this new generation and potential new generation going forward to Gen 10? For one, the utility of Mold Breaker, its ability. Before it was restricted to just sort of, sometimes you'd run Earthquake to hit Levitate, Rotom Wash, which, like, that's cool. You can still do it, though the Rotom Wash isn't too common, which is a good thing for Mega Gyarados, to be clear. The fall off of Rotom Wash. But Mold Breaker, you've probably already figured it out if you're trying to think ahead. Boots Dragonite with Multiscale is one of the best Pokemon in the game, not just in Gen 9, where it's obviously overpowered with Terra. I don't think it'll have Terra in any new game or Pokemon Champions or whatever, but in Gen 8, it's still really good. What you can see is Dragonite potentially in Gen 10 either teching Ice Fang to just one-shot through Multiscale, or what you can do, I think there's a replay of me doing it, you'll see at some point in this video, +2 Crunch, you can just set up it, like, Intimidate the Dragonite, Dragon Dance again, and then Crunch +2 one-shots through Multiscale, because Mold Breaker obviously ignores it. And it's not just Dragonite, that's an amazing use, a new use for Multiscale. Great example, one of the best 4th moves on Mega Gyarados, probably my favorite 4th move option, is Taunt. You run Taunt, you taunt something that wants to heal or use a status move on you, and then it often has to switch out. What you can do against one of the most common sets in the game is Thunderwave, Hex, Golden Go will be running, I don't know, Shadow Ball, Make It Rain or whatever. Just come in against it once you know what set it is. Mega, Mold Breaker, Taunt as it tries to Thunderwave you, and then you resist its two moves. And you're right as rain, you know what I mean? Like, you can set up a DD as they switch out, you get a free DD and you're going to be about 100% HP. Obviously, that's not it. You have, you can kill mons with Sturdy, like, which is not bad, because a lot of Sturdy Pokemon are rock and ground and weak to Waterfall. You can not worry about Volcanion or Water Pond switching on you with Water Absorb, or, I don't know, like Toxicroak gets one-shot by you if you're running, like, Pink across or something. But one of the best uses, I haven't even mentioned it yet, Mold Breaker ignores Unaware. And Unaware, I don't know if you know a certain big blue catfish Pokemon that's sort of risen up in Gen 9 to be the ultimate premier physical wall. Dondozo. You can set up, Dondozo comes in against you, you don't really care. Again, you don't even have the Mega right away, which makes it hard for it to commit to Body Press, right? You can, you should Mega to get Mold Breaker, obviously, but Crunch does so much, especially if it's a Spadef Dondozo, which a lot are. Because the people are like, oh, it already has so much physical defense, I might as well invest in some Spadef. You're just gonna, like, tear through with Crunch. It's kind of absurd. Mold Breaker, the stock of Mold Breaker as an ability has risen so much from where it used to be before these Pokemon. Like, it used to just be a thing like, oh, I can kill Mimikyu through Disguise, which obviously is actually really good, especially against Trick Room and stuff. But, I digress. Mold Breaker's just gotten so much better because of Pokemon like, like Golden Go. And speaking of Golden Go, that's actually another great thing that's changed in the metagame I want to talk about that really, really, really benefits Gyarados. And that's because Golden Go is not only, again, it's the greatest sort of, with the metagame revolving around a Pokemon like that, it's Gyarados' greatest opportunity to not only set up, obviously because you resist Steel and Ghost, and you can taunt Thunderwave and do all that stuff. You basically shut it down completely unless it's some Thunderbolt set. It's also an amazing teammate for Gyarados, because think of the things that have traditionally shut down Gyarados. One of the big ones is Scarf Tapu Lele, because it outspeeds you and revenge kills you with what's it called, Moonblast. And now obviously Tapu Lele doesn't exist, but it might come back, and Iron Valiant also does a similar thing, and I don't know, Scarf and Namor. Fast fairies are a common thing in Pokemon because they're good. But Golden Go also not only serves as an opportunity for Gyarados, but it's also an amazing teammate, because what you would have to do against Lele in the past is you'd have to switch in a Pokemon like Ferrothorn or a Pokemon like Heatran. Those were the sort of premier switch-ins for Lele. But anyone sort of aggressive or really smart or predictive is probably just going to try and like rip a Focus Blast, and they'll just wipe, especially if it's like a Specs Lele and they're bluffing or something. It's just going to wipe out your Heatran or Ferrothorn, and once your sort of defensive steel goes down, you're in so much trouble. But the nice thing about Gold is its Ghost typing actually makes it a lot more reliable a switch into Lele. It'd have to commit to Shadow Ball, which is just not a move anyone wants to be clicking on Lele. Let's be honest, it's such a lame duck move. And it even invites Gyarados back in, and then you DD, and then you can, DD again, and then you outspeed it. So it's completely screwed the Lele user over. It's amazing. Like, again, it's not just Golden Go as well. These sort of, the removal of Pursuit in Generation 8, when Mega Gyarados left, so it never got to exploit this. But the removal of Pursuit has led to a Pokemon environment where Ghost types is sort of seen as like an overpowered typing. It's like a really, really strong offensive type, and also obviously defensive because you want to block Rapid Spin and stuff. Like, that's what Petrarant does. But we're in a spot where a lot of teams want to use, for example, Dragapult. Dragapult is their speed control, and Dragapult's a Pokemon that hits 421 speed, which is really fast. So usually it's pretty reliable speed control. But you have to remember, Mega Gyarados at max speed +1 from Dragon Dance is hitting 430, which that's faster than not everything. For example, I think Scarf Gold's a little bit faster, unfortunately, which is a kind of annoying thing, but it's fine because it's Gold. It often tricks away at Scarf anyway. But Dragapult, teams that rely on that for speed control, completely smoked by Gyarados. It's not even going to be close. Zamazenta as well as a Pokemon you like completely outspeed, and that's a Pokemon, again, very common speed control. It likes to come in to use Dauntless Shield to stop a physical attacker. So once you've used its shield and it's chipped and it comes in as you DD, you can probably just kill it with Waterfall because it doesn't have the defense boost, and it's going to be at low HP. And if it lives, it probably doesn't kill you back with Body Press, just because Gyarados is so amazing and fat. But again, it's not just the Ghost. I wouldn't be saying this is going to be like the best Mega. For the record, I do think this is probably better than every new Mega that I've seen. We don't have the abilities yet, so it's really hard to say that definitively. But none of them, apart from the obviously overpowered Ubers ones, look as good as I think Mega Gyarados does. And I'm really serious when I say that. But another great thing that's happened for it is a rise in hazard control options. Hatterene, Pokemon that was pretty, not irrelevant, but pretty irrelevant, sort of before Gen 9 when it massively blew up. Even for a long time in Gen 9, it was very niche. It's only recently that it's gotten really massive. One of Gyarados' biggest weaknesses traditionally is that it takes 25% of its HP coming in against Stealth Rock. But these new trends of teams we're seeing, where Hatterene is paired with a Pokemon like Iron Treads or Great Tusk, it's so hard to keep rocks up against that kind of team, and it fits really well on it because neither Tusk or Hatterene are passive Pokemon. They fit well on offensive structures with Gyarados. And the nice thing about Gyarados, actually, for once, is, again, it starts as a flying type, and that makes it immune to a lot of the sort of alternative hazards options people are going for. It stops Glamora from poisoning it, which is really annoying. It's an offense Pokemon immune to webs, which sets up, which is just overpowered against webs. If you've ever played against webs, that's why one of the biggest problems for webs is Dragonite, because it does a similar thing. It's immune to spikes, which are really good because the distribution got increased massively with Gen 9, and also it gets set up by like Samurott Hisui and stuff. So it's in the current hazard metagame, I think a flying type that doesn't necessarily have to use boots is helped out a lot by existence and top tier viability of guys like Hatterene and Great Tusk. But that's not even all, because another great thing is there's a sort of removal. Now this is conditional because a lot of these Pokemon could return in Gen 10. We don't really know. But the removal of guys in Gen 9, there's been a solid it's like a desert for those physically defensive guys you think of, like Buzzwole, Ferrothorn, Kartana, which is more offensive obviously, but still has some very strong physical defense, and Tangrowth. They're all gone. That's why if you're ever wondering why the water form of Ogerpon is so overpowered, that's why these guys, like crucial guys to the metagame, are missing. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Ferrothorn is going to be back, Kartana might be back, but the amazing thing about Gyarados that it's acquired in Gen 9 that really helps it out here is it's going to move Temper Flare. That's one of the options it's gotten between the removal of Mega and just regular Gyarados. Now, there's other like Power Whip or whatever. I don't think Power Whip or Scale Shot or whatever are very useful, I'll be honest. But Temper Flare, if you set up to +1, like Temper Flare is going to rip apart Kartana, it's going to rip apart Ferrothorn. It really stops those from being a reliable defensive answer to Gyarados, because it has so many options it can use as its fourth move. There's a sort of misconception where people see a Pokemon with a lot of options and think it's 4 move slot syndrome, but 4 move slot syndrome it's a thing people say when a Pokemon needs more than 4 moves to function at a base level. When you just have a lot of options to sort of flex and use custom techs on your Pokemon, it's not really 4 move slot syndrome. It's just a really versatile, scary Pokemon that your opponent doesn't know what they're going to be using. Like Iron Valiant doesn't have 4 move slot syndrome. It has so many. You use Moonblast, and then you can use literally 3 other whatever moves you want, and they have the guess, and all of them are incredibly scary and beat different things. It's almost a similar thing with Gyarados' 4th slot. It's nothing new for that Pokemon. It's even dropped Waterfall in the past just to make more room for like Dragon Dance, Crunch. You could run Temper Flare. You could run Iron Head to hit a Fairy type. Again, Ice Fang to hit Dragonite potentially if you want to threaten Dragonite. But again, the more I talk about, more and more things just fall into place for Gyarados. Think of it like another great thing: the rise of ground types that aren't Landorus. Think Gliscor, Ting-Lu, Great Tusk. Landorus, obviously, it's still popular. Let's not kid ourselves. But it's an annoying Pokemon for any physical sweeper because of Intimidate. And the fact that it doesn't use rock moves anymore means that regular form Gyarados pretty much walls it, which is already bad news for Landorus. But it's not so popular anymore, so you're not going to get intimidated. Their ground types, like Ting-Lu, is not going to stand a chance. I don't care how bulky it is. Waterfall's going to rip that thing apart if it's even taken like a crumb of damage. But like, it's not just Landorus. Other things have changed in just how Pokemon are traditionally used that makes Gyarados better. For example, Zapdos, the Pokemon has traditionally been sort of a hard defensive wall with some offensive sets. Nowadays, Zapdos runs like max speed set. Like the power creep of Pokemon over time means that Pokemon like Zapdos, which have always been reliable defensive walls, have needed to get more offensive to survive. And when Zapdos is less defensive, you know who like benefits a lot? Gyarados, because it can just start like, it takes less and less chip damage for Zapdos, which is already a mon that wants to pivot in and take hits, eventually it's going to hit a threshold, and that threshold's much higher for +1 crunch to just like tear through it. Obviously, you have to be scared of static, but I mean, that's life, right? Everything has to be scared of broken static flame body abilities. The downfall of Pokemon like Keldeo over time is another thing that like fighting types in general have just gotten sort of less popular, I want to say. I get the mushroom Pokemon too with the sleep ban. I haven't even mentioned this. What's one of the biggest counts for Mega Gyarados? Guys like Breloom and Amoonguss, which, oh wait, when sleep is a banned mechanic because it's sort of gone, again, the power creep has led to it gone overpowered. Breloom and Amoonguss are basically fallen into irrelevancy. They're not Pokemon that are used anymore. And that's really good because those were Pokemon that traditionally shut down Gyarados really hard. There's more, again, Gyarados is a Pokemon that, it's almost in the eye of the storm when it comes to power creep. Things that beat it have gotten way worse from power creep, and the things that get power crept up, like multi-scale Dragonite, for example, actually get completely hard shut down by, and Dragapult get hard shut down by Gyarados. It's a really good matchup for it. Again, we can even use some logic. Let's say Tapu Koko does come back, which is possible. It's been a while. They don't really like to keep those guys away from for too long, I don't think. If Coco's in and has electric terrain, and Valiant comes back, let's say the Paradox guys come back, those guys can't coexist in a metagame. Electric terrain Tapu Koko plus Quark Drive Valiant, one of them's definitely getting banned, just clearly. And, I don't know which one gets banned in that case. You'd have to ask, I don't know, Finchinator or something. But both of those Pokemon are insanely bad things for Gyarados to run into. So the fact that they synergize so well is another boon for it, because one of them's probably gonna get banned because they're too good to coexist. Another thing, Mega Alakazam, one of very few Pokemon that actually outspeeds +1 Mega Gyarados, and it's always been a really hard time for it, because if you Mega +1 kill something, you just sort of risk dying to Focus Blast from Mega Alakazam. But new move Alakazam's got Nasty Plot. That Pokemon's probably going to get banned, if we're being honest. And when it's banned, that opens up an amazing spot for a certain big shrimp looking Pokemon. It's just I foresee these incredibly fortuitous things happening for Mega Gyarados that weren't the case before but are the case now. I think this is the perfect storm for this Pokemon. It felt really good when I was using it in these Legends EA tournaments Blunder was doing, even if they're a little bit you could sort of use whatever and succeed because there's a lot of chaos. But I will say, I don't want to be too exaggeratory, because there are things that do suck. One, the possible return of Tapu Fini and Primarina. Gyarados, I mean, you could use, actually, tell you what, this is what Power Whip could be really good for. Like I mentioned, Temper Flare for Ferrothorn. If they come back and they're good, the new move Power Whip could shut those guys down. But then you're starting to ask a little bit too much of the move slots of Gyarados, because you have a lot of good moves you do want to run. But Rillaboom is a bad guy for Gyarados, obviously. Maybe it could be good to pair your Gyarados with a Flame Body Moltres, for example, which is just a really dreadful thing for Rillaboom to run into. A Valiant obviously is pretty terrible. I don't think Valiant's luckily, the thing about Valiant is you can actually lure it out and remove its booster energy, and once the booster energy's gone, Valiant's actually not a problem at all. You just kill it with Waterfall, so that's manageable. And Raging Bolt, you're cooked. If you run into Raging Bolt, it actually does make you, tell you what, a move that Gyarados has always run. Again, I'm mentioning so many different options, but these are all good options. Substitute, if you get a substitute off against Raging Bolt, you cook it. You know what I mean? That's an amazing scenario for you to have. Maybe you could run DD, Waterfall, or DD Crunch sub EQ. That could be it. That could be a set you could run potentially. But apart from those guys, which again I think they all sort of have counterplay. Even if you're not running Power Whip, like Feeny and Prim don't have recovery. You can ship them down. It's possible. Their Pokemon are like to trade with things. But everything else, like King Gambit being the best Pokemon in the tier, a Dark Steel type is really good if it's good in a meta for a Water Dark type. I think that sort of goes without saying. You know what I mean? You can practically intimidate the King Gambit, set up a DD on it, and if it's not low kick, which many of them aren't, because low kick's sort of awkward when you want Kowtow, Ironhead, Sucker. It's just like it's gonna be a bad time for you. But yeah, that's about it. I haven't seen, there's been no hype for this guy, which I think is crazy with how good I think it's gonna be. So I just wanted to make this video to sort of give my side, give my theory, my speculation, my Gyarados agenda. If there's any mega you think is gonna be OP that maybe you haven't seen speculation on, obviously if it's like Shell Smash Mega Blastoise, yeah, we know, man. But I think there's a lot of potential for a lot of things. So you can leave a comment below. I'll read it. I'll respond to it. I'm finally back, I swear. Scripted video next week. I'm working on it right now. Script's almost done. I just wanted to put this out to remind you all that I'm alive. And yeah, I think that's about it. So that's been Shifting. Like and subscribe, thanks, and I'll see you later. Thank you. Gyarados Agenda.